Right, thank you very much. Your history, or the history that you've just presented, reminds me of two things, actually. The first one is a quote from European historian Sir David Starkey, who stated, quote, "The denial of reality is the cause of all human catastrophe." So it's, it seems to me from the history that is just presented that worldwide the people have denied reality. The second thing that reminds me from your story is actually of what Pak Richard's history itself of his father, which I would like Pak Richard to to tell also, because I think it's really relevant. I remember one of the main aim of Pak Richard created this Gladiator Bangsa event actually to make the current generations, and of course then future generation, not to forget the history of our heroes, our national heroes, and one of them is Pak Richard's father. Pak Richard, silakan.
Thank you, Mary. Ibu Lyudmila, actually Russia is very near to my heart because my great grandfather was hired by the Tsar in the time in 1800 to make the encyclopedia of the language of people in the area of Russia. So he went to Ural, the Ural Mountain, and to Mongol, and make all the work. And then after that, he presented to the Tsar, and as a reward, then he was appointed as ambassador in France by the Tsar. That's why I feel very close. And the interesting thing from Ural, then he traveled to Cambodia and traveled to Indonesia. And he traveled to Indonesia, and then he traveled to Celebes, where he met my grandmother. So they married, and come my grandfather, my father, and me. That's why, yeah. So actually, he, I think, the first person that was hired by the Tsar of Russia that introduced the polyglotta. Yeah, it's a 25 polyglotta. And since then, me personally, I have a very close relationship with many scientists from Russia. Even I study in America, in Australia, but my personal friends, they are Russian. Yeah, like the late Garyaev. We have a very close relationship. And then I see the quality, the quality of work that they do is so high. Yeah, it's so high. And then I remember I discussed with you and your husband how the education system, and I want that you can elaborate that when you are in the elementary school, and you remember all the physics. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the system of education, because here, after we study, we forget. After next year, we forget. But you say you remember until you are old. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit from that side. Thank you.
Thank you, Pa Richard. Well, indeed, the system of education in the Soviet Union, I grew up in the Soviet Union, was the quality of education was very high, high school and university education. And the additional bonus, it was all free. We had no private schools or private universities at that time, so it was all free of charge. Sometimes people think of the Soviet Union as an evil empire of evil, which is very far from truth, of course. There were so many good things about the USSR that we still miss, like, the social security or even the personal safety, you know, you could in the Soviet Union, you could get let your children, you know, play in the street of a big city, and you would be sure that they will not be harmed. So of course there were drawbacks in the system that was of course ideologically driven, but the quality of education was one of the undoubtful advantages of the Soviet Union. Of course, there is an explanation to that, because even in high school there was a focus on mathematics, on natural sciences, on physics. Of course, the idea was that well-educated people would work well in different areas of economy of the Soviet Union, and of course also the defense area, which we cannot deny was very important at that time, and of course it's quite important now. You know, there was a lot of emphasis on mathematics and physics. You know, I told you once that I still remember how to, you know, repair a radio.
Yes.
I still remember all the schemes.
I remember that story.
So well described by our teachers. Also, you know, for instance, my husband, he's one of his hobbies is astronomy, you know, because it was also in high school we had, you know, additional classes on astronomy. So now we can I don't know whether he just, because I was never a kid on astronomy, so he shows me some stars and he tells me the names, and I'm very impressed, but I cannot check actually sure or not. Yeah, but he knows, you know, all where all the stars is and everything about that. So and it's from high school.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, we adopted the Western system basically, and we see the quality of education drop. We see that, yeah, unfortunately. Of course, we are still quite high. I'm in high school. Universities are very good, but high school is becoming, because it's always this test system. You know, when, for instance, when we took our exams in high school in the Soviet Union, it was not the choice of answers. You know, the question, then answer A, answer B, answer C, and you have to choose like it's now. No, there is a question, and yet you have to speak, or you have to write your own answer.
Explain.
It's not just
multiple choice. Yeah, it's not multiple choice.
Multiple choice. You have to come out with your own answer.
Yeah.
And now, actually, I think our government is well, we see that is taking steps actually to combine the advantages of the Soviet school system, and there are some advantages in the new one, of course. We cannot argue about that. So now I think the focus of our government, the Ministry of Education, is to combine, to have the advantages of the former education system to be used as well.